Hi, today we're joined by Fida Georges. She's a mother of 3 who lives in Bowling Green, Kentucky.
That's right.
Thanks for being here, Fida.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
So you, of course, are a mother, but it was kind of a rough journey to motherhood. Can you talk about your struggles with infertility?
Yes, it was a very difficult journey. So my husband and I, we had a lot of infertility challenges. We tried to get pregnant for almost 3.5 years, and so that was a very difficult time for us, and we did have fertility treatment. And after about our 3rd treatment, we got pregnant with our twin boys. And so of course we were elated, very happy. We couldn't wait to have these boys, but unfortunately they came very early. So they came about 2 months early, and that was a very traumatic time for our entire family. So I had an abruption with one of the twins, and ended up having to be in the hospital with them. I was in the ICU for 1 week, and they were in the NICU for 6 weeks.
Wow. And how are they doing today?
They're doing fantastic today. They are caught up, they're where they need to be, they're very healthy, and so we are forever grateful for every treatment that we received when they were in the NICU.
And you thought your family was complete. You had your twins, you went through many years of infertility and that struggle to get pregnant, which must have been very difficult. And then something happened.
And then something happened. So we were enjoying life with twins, and we were told after fertility treatment that we would never, ever, ever be able to have children on our own, that it would be a 1 in a million chance. And so we never thought to prevent it. But when the twins were 2.5 in diapers, running around, driving us crazy, I got pregnant on our own. So it was our little miracle. And now we have a little girl. She's 6 years old, and she is a true present to us.
So what would you say to moms out there who are struggling with infertility?
You know, I would say definitely do not give up hope. Do not give up hope. We did a lot of research. We found a wonderful fertility center in Nashville that helped us out. And I think the most important thing is to believe in miracles, to believe that it can happen, and to just stay positive. Stay positive, and regardless of the challenges, it may be a great outcome for you.
Well, Fida, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you for having me.
Wisconsin families love to spend time outdoors, but sometimes we need a little help creating our own personal oasis. We're joined now by Jeff from Pool People. Hey, Jeff.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you doing?
Good, thanks.
So you can help us out in creating whatever we want in our backyard.
We certainly can. You know, for so many years we've been known as the pool people, but the pool people are pool people, spa people, patio people, billiard people. We want to be a one-stop shop for all of those solutions in the inside and the outside of your home.
So mom can come in and really pick out whatever she wants for that beautiful outdoor space.
That's the exciting thing about it, is we want to build a lifetime of memories, and in a lot of cases that's a solution for your children, it's a solution for your spouse, and ultimately a solution for you, where you can find that relaxation at the end of the day or throughout the course of the day, while everybody else is finding enjoyment as well.
Jeff, thank you so much. As our parents and loved ones age, we may become concerned about them staying in their own homes, but it's not exactly an easy conversation to have. We're joined now by Sally Conway from Pride TLC. Hi, Sally.
Hi, Liz.
So how do we start this conversation?
This conversation needs to be started early. There needs to be a fair amount of exposure by touring, by scheduling a visit, maybe have a meal at the facility, maybe participate in an activity. It's more important to have the conversation when it becomes apparent that your loved one or your family member can't care for themselves any longer at home, and you want to expose them to a different living environment gently versus emergently. Those are the difficult situations when you have to drastically make a change. It has to be a process.
Yeah, it's a process.
Yeah.
So early and often.
Early and often.
Okay, thank you, Sally.
Thank you.
We're joined now by Kimberly Zapata. She's a mother of 1, a writer, and a suicide survivor. So Thank you so much for being here, Kim.
Thank you for having me.
So the topic of suicide is kind of a terrifying one for parents.
Yes.
But we need to talk about it. Why is it so important to talk about it with our kids?
Well, there's a big misconception that talking about suicide is going to trigger someone to have suicidal thoughts, or it's going to give them the idea to begin thinking about it. It's one of the greatest myths out there. Talking about suicide is so important in preventing it. One of the reasons that it needs to be talked about is because if a child is having suicidal thoughts, it is so scary, not just for a child, but for anyone who's having suicidal thoughts. It's a very terrifying thing to feel unloved and overwhelmed and like a burden to your family. And the idea of then coming forward and asking for help, you're not going to do it because you already feel that pressure and that burden. So if a parent approaches a child and they're concerned about maybe them having suicidal thoughts, or they're concerned about just something that's going on in their life, having an open dialogue and introducing the word suicide, it's like anything. By talking about it, you remove the shame and the stigma, and it can just become a normal part of the conversation.
What are some other major misconceptions? I know you've written about this when it comes to suicide that parents need to know about.
So a few of the biggest misconceptions are that suicide looks the same for everybody. There are a lot of common warning signs. Some of the ones that are common, and not every child exhibits them, are dropping out of school, not dropping out of school, but dropping grades, withdrawing from family and friends, not being active in activities, sleeping in or not sleeping at all. Those are some of the big warning signs, but suicide is not a one-size-fits-all thing, and not everyone's experience is the same. For me, when I was suicidal, and when I did try and take my life at 17, I was the complete opposite end of the spectrum. I was hyperactive in activities. I was involved in 9 clubs and activities. I worked a part-time job. I was a straight A student. The ideal of what I should be was not what, all the text says. This is what suicide looks like. This is what suicide looks like. And I think as parents, we know we're intuitive with our children's feelings to a certain degree. So if you feel like something is wrong, regardless of whether you know if that's a suicidal thought, a mental health issue, possibly just some problems in school or with friends, I think it's important we address it for whatever reason, regardless of your concern. Just talk to your children and ask them, because I think with mental health, it's hard to come forward. And I mentioned this a minute ago. It's just hard to figure out what you need to say and what to say. So asking direct questions, asking about how you're feeling, not accepting fine. Children don't feel fine. Parents, as a parent, I don't feel fine. I default to fine because it's an easy out end of the conversation. How are you? I'm fine. How are you? You can just move on. But don't accept fine. Find different ways to approach them and talk about them. Ask about what they're doing, and try and get feelings and emotions out of that.
And if you are having this tough conversation and you find that your child is perhaps in the midst of a crisis and they really need help, what should you do as a parent? And how do you not take on all of that emotion and guilt and not be in your own crisis when your child needs you?
Right. And that's a tough one, because you definitely, if you find your child in crisis, the first thing you need to do is you need to get them help. The level of help you're going to need in immediacy is going to, of course, vary. If they're in the middle of a suicide attempt, obviously your lifeline is 911. At that point, you get them to a hospital or whatever that case may be. There's great resources through the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention if you need not an immediate plan. There's also the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. It's a 1-800 number, and if you're considering suicide, or if you're a parent or a loved one concerned about someone in your family, you can call. I've actually called the number for a friend, not for myself. And they can give you resources and tips and ways to even have the conversation. And then there's also, you can give, a key resource to give your child is Crisis Text Line. It's a text number, and it's crisis counselors 24/7, 100% free, and you just text them and they will walk you through whatever it is. You could just be having a really bad day at school, but since children are so, especially, we're in a text generation.
How they communicate.
Right.
Yeah.
It's so much easier for us to talk through writing, and as a writer, that's one of the things I find. Like I can go into my whole life story in writing, but talking about it is so much harder. So Crisis Text Line is a really great resource, and I think all kids should know about Crisis Text Line, not just for suicide prevention. But as far as taking on the guilt, you're going to feel guilty. I think it's a natural reaction, because as a parent, you want to protect your children. You want to do everything you can to protect them at all times. But I think what you need to remember is in that moment, your child doesn't, even if you feel the guilt, you can't convey that in front of your child. You need to just be able to be there to support your child, because if your child already feels like a burden. That's a common thought when you're suicidal. So if they're already feeling like a burden, and then to see they're being a burden, they're giving you guilt and grief, they don't need that. So you can totally feel it, but the best thing that parents can try and do is check that, because the child really needs the support at that time.
Okay. Well, Kimberly, thank you so much for all the information.
Thank you so much for having me.
And now Moms Every Day with Liz Hayes.
One of the best ways to spend time together as a family is by doing something active. So we're going to talk about that today with Carrie Hutton, who's the Communications Director at the Woodson YMCA. Hi, Carrie.
Hi.
So talk about some of the options at the YMCA for this.
At the Y, we really want families to be active together, to role model, and so that their kids see being active can be fun. They can do that together, open swim, they can be on the tracks, they can be in the gym together, shooting some hoops. Kids at the age of 12 can already be in our group exercise classes. And for the really little ones, there's toddler time and cardio kids. So it's just great to kind of grow up with that activity, hopefully keep that on as a habit lifelong.
Yeah, and it becomes a habit when the whole family's doing it. You're more
Absolutely.
inspired to keep doing it together. It's
Yes,
fun.
you are.
Okay. Thank you so much, Carrie.
You're welcome.
Parents, have you been to your local Boys and Girls Club? You absolutely should. And to talk about why that's so important, we have Kim Larson. You're the Assistant Executive Director at the Boys and Girls Club of the WSAW area. Hi, Kim.
Hi, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So why should parents come check out the club in their area?
Well, I think it's really important for parents to understand what happens behind our front doors so that any kid can walk in and have a great time. Our local Boys and Girls Club serves grades 4 through 12, and we want to make sure that parents know that our door is always open for tours, to answer questions, to meet our staff, and help fight some of those maybe preconceived notions that happen in our community with understanding who really the club serves. We have an average daily attendance of about 350 kids any time of year across our 4 sites, and that's kids from all across our community. So come in, see our programs, meet our staff, and check out what your kids could be doing.
And if they have any questions, they can get them answered right there.
Absolutely, or at bgclub.com.